It's a cancellation roundup. Okay, that was gonna be today's intro, but I think there's more cancellations to come. Let's just save that till Monday. We'll talk cancellations on Monday because there's some other stories that I find to be a little more intriguing today. There's stuff breaking off when it comes to Alaska. Another interesting nugget from that Royal earnings call is some of the technology that they're using may surprise you. Or not. And there is a new message out there from Carnival President Christine Duffy where she talks to the crew and she talks about the return to cruising and vaccines. What do you think she's gonna say? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Of course, cancellation is the big story. Yesterday, Carnival canceled all of their May cruises. Holland America canceled cruises, Disney canceled cruises. Come back on Monday. We'll see if anything else happens for the rest of the week or the weekend, whether there will be more cruise lines announcing May cancellations. We'll try to compile it there. Some significant stuff though that will transition us into our first story about Alaska is Holland America and maybe another cruise line. Again, I don't want to go too deep into the cancellations. We saw them cancel Alaska cruises that were essentially Canadian based. So it was leaving from a port in Canada going to Alaska, no US port at all. So yeah, cruise lines cutting off those Canada only itineraries, Canada, Alaska only itineraries, but not canceling any of the itineraries that originate from the US. Still waiting for some sort of relief and possibly relief is on its way. Let me give you this update. Don Young is the representative to Congress from Alaska. He tweeted out yesterday, just introduced the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act. Now I could not find any transcript for that act. I can't really, there's a lot of generic news stories out there. I can't figure out if this is something he brought forth into a committee at Congress, and I don't even know what it includes, but the way that he summarizes it is an act that will allow vessels that carry more than 100 passengers to cruise into Alaska from Washington and getting around the Passenger Vessel Services Act. I really hope I can find a copy of the bill. I'd like to see exactly what's being proposed. But yeah, we still don't have cruise lines canceling their US to Alaska cruises. So it does seem like there is still some hope out there for the 2021 Alaska season. Will this initiative by Don Young be the vehicle that gets us there? Good as any. Now let's talk about technology. Let's talk about technology that Royal Caribbean is using on the Quantum of the Seas in Singapore. This goes back to the quarterly earnings call. Again, I said that thing was chock full of information. It is chock full of information. I'm just gonna pull out one more question for us to talk about. We'll do it in the same style as yesterday. We're gonna hear some cool things. First, we're gonna hear about an increase in the capacity on the Quantum of the Seas, which is good news for cruising, good news for Royal. And we're also gonna hear about two technologies that Royal is using that the CDC actually likes. So this could be good news. Let me pull up the question and I will share it with you. The question comes from Jamie Katz, an analyst from Morningstar. Hi, good morning. Thanks for taking my question. I guess I'd be curious to hear what changes maybe have been made to the Quantum that we can implement domestically that might surface when the start of sailing begins. And then additionally, is there something you guys are doing differently and maybe just sort of geographically different that leads you to believe that May 1st is a better start date than June the 1st, which Norwegian has put out there? Thanks. So that question's loaded with a few things. Primarily, the question gets at the idea of the things that they're doing on the Quantum of the Seas in Singapore. Will they be doing that domestically? And why haven't they canceled their May cruises yet? Again, this happened on the 22nd, earlier this week on Monday. At this point, Royal has not canceled their May cruises. And so Michael Bailey answers this way. We're pleased with the performance of the Quantum of the Seas. It's incredible learning experience. I'm going to just skip down. This is a long answer. They've carried around 35,000 Singaporeans on ocean cruises since December. And then he jumps down and says it's subject to a series of protocols that, as you question, are probably very similar to the framework that we may be operating in the future out of US or Europe. So what we've started with in Singapore in terms of protocols already being reviewed, and there is in the coming weeks, we expect some of those protocols to be changed. For example, the load factor constraint at the beginning of the Singapore operations was capped at 50%. We are now in discussions about increasing that cap to 65% in the coming weeks, and some of the testing regimes have also changed. I think there's something really key here that applies even to the broader society. I think something that's missing sometimes in the conversation, in the dialogue. What Michael Bailey is saying is, we started cruising in Singapore under a set of assumptions. We made decisions based off the knowledge we had at the time, off the assumptions that we had. And as time has gone on and as we have learned more, we're going to change some things. We have new learning that will allow us to make different decisions. I don't know why this is missed so much. It blows my mind over the last 6 months how I'll see people say, look, somebody said something a year ago and then they changed their mind and did something different. They're inconsistent. No, it speaks to the way life works. You make decisions based on the knowledge and the assumptions you have at the time, and then as you learn more, you might make a different decision. I don't know why that's such a hard concept, but it's illustrated here in Singapore. In the beginning, they said maybe we can only cruise with 50% of the passengers. That's the most safe. And then as time has gone on, now they're saying, well, maybe we can cruise at 65%. Does that mean that they're big, ugly flip-floppers, that now they're changing from 50% to 65%? Or does it mean that they learned something and now their assumptions have changed and now they'll be able to make a different decision? As Michael carries on, he says, so one of the things that have come from the quantum, well, two things actually. One is that operationally, we've really begun to understand how we can work together with the health ministry to safely operate large cruise ships during COVID times. So the big takeaway for them is it's essential to work with the health organization that's governing what's going on there. That's been their big takeaway in Singapore. They've had a really good relationship there. That's why you see the quantum going forward and now these changes coming. And then the second takeaway from Michael, we have also gained from our investment in technology. So there are two technologies that have come from the quantum that are really game changing. One is e-mustering, which completely transforms the whole process of lifeboat mustering, and it's done digitally through your iPhone or an app. And the second is we've really developed technology for contact tracing using a combination of technologies. Describing the two technologies, he says, one of them is a tracelet which each guest wears and can tell exactly how long they've been in contact with everybody else who's wearing the tracelet. And then the second technology is they have incorporated artificial intelligence into their closed circuit TV cameras that use facial and body recognition to double check and verify contact tracing in the event that somebody did have COVID on board the ship. So the reason Michael Bailey is excited about this technology is it is huge. One of the biggest fears that I hear from you guys out there, that I hear from anti-cruise people, is that when cruising starts again, you're just going to get quarantined on a cruise ship when just one person shows up with the virus. We don't think you can keep the virus off the cruise ship, and therefore, once it shows up on the cruise ship, everybody is going to get quarantined. Who wants to do that? It's a huge fear, and it's a fear that cruise lines are addressing. This technology, so they've put their closed circuit TV on steroids. They're enforcing everybody wearing a contact tracing device, and they're using these technologies in conjunction with each other to isolate outbreaks on the cruise ship, so that if the virus does get on the cruise ship, that everybody will not be locked down. And you know who's excited about this technology? The CDC. The CDC specifically asked about those two technologies. So if you take this whole answer in totality, Michael Bailey talks about one of the lessons learned is working with the health authorities. Now you have the health authorities here in the US, the CDC, saying we like that technology. Can you tell us more about the technology? So again, it continues to wrap around this idea of a better relationship between the CDC and at least Royal Caribbean. Will that get us cruising again sooner? Possibly. Having a great relationship with the CDC, who basically are the gatekeepers, I think it bodes well for cruising. So let's leave Royal Caribbean. Let's go over to Carnival Cruise Lines, where the president there, Christine Duffy, had some direct words for crew members about the resumption of cruising and also about crew vaccines. It's pretty telling. Before we get there, let me give you the quick invite. If you enjoy staying up to date on what's going on in cruising, if you like being up to date with the cruise news, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the episodes. Thank you in advance. So let's talk about what Christine Christine Duffy is saying to her crew members. She released a message this week that went out to all of the crew members that are waiting to hear what's going to happen next. And it's about a 5-minute message. I'm just going to highlight a couple points. She starts the message off by talking about the ramp up of vaccines, but then she gets to the meat of the matter. What is the deal? What should crew members expect? And this is what Christine Duffy says. Here we go.
Integral part of the Carnival Cruise Line family. At this point, the only firm commitment I can make is to continue to keep you informed as things develop. Even if it's just a chat like this, telling you what we know or what we don't know. The good news is that Carnival Corporation continues to be a financially sound company.
Wow, that's probably not exactly what you wanted to hear as a crew member. So no real hard commitment as to a date or anything like that. Just, hey, we're going to keep you informed. You remember around Christmas time, she was very forthcoming saying, you know, maybe you got to find other employment until all this hashes out. And so, you know, I appreciate the fact that she's not giving false hope, but I'm sure as a crew member, you'd want a better message than that. I know we have a lot of crew members that watch the show, and man, we really hope that you guys get back to work sooner than later. And then, of course, another big question when it comes to crew members, will there be a vaccine requirement? Christine addresses this later in the message. Let's see what she says.
We also know that many of you have been asking about the vaccine. We do not have any details yet on whether it will be required or if, how, and when we might be able to secure vaccines for our crew. What I can say at this time is that if you're able to get a vaccine in your home country, that you should do so, if only to protect yourself and the health of you and your family members.
So from an observational perspective, that message does not necessarily give me the warm and fuzzies. She does hit the high notes. Vaccines are going up. Things are getting better. We probably are closer to cruising, but she doesn't have anything committal that she could give to the crew members as far as when they might be coming to work or what the vaccine requirement will be. She encourages them to get vaccinated in their home country, which makes a lot of sense. I do personally believe that these cruise companies will want a vaccinated crew. A couple of them have said it, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, and probably the easiest thing for them is if their crew could get vaccinated in their home country. But as we know, at least like in the United States, Canada, you know, vaccines are going out, but it's not very rapid. It's a challenging question because, you know, some of the countries that crew members come from are struggling probably even more to get their citizens vaccinated. So, you know, how's a crew member going to go about getting vaccinated and then coming to work? You know, one idea obviously is that longer term, when vaccines become widely available and then everybody's had the vaccine that wants the vaccine and there's a surplus of vaccines, maybe at that point companies will be able to procure vaccines and do vaccinations themselves. But that's not where we're at here in 2021. So interesting stuff. Just a heads up, tomorrow's show is going to tackle what I feel like is a fairly controversial question. Should non-US travelers that come from countries where tipping is not part of the custom, should they tip when they go cruising out of the US? I got some strong feelings on that. And look, if you want to get prepped up for that conversation, I've done a lot of tipping videos. Cruise tipping's frustrating. Check out this video if you haven't seen that classic. That's today's news. Time for you to sound off in the comments. Hit the like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.